I wonder, what was it like for you, 1978? So I'm 18 years old, the year of the three popes. So to me, it was like, oh yeah, the popes died and a new pope, and I was interested, but in a sort of external way. But you who knew all these people, what was your reaction when Karl Wojtyła came out on that balcony?
Well, that was 78.
78.
I was teaching.
Yeah. You would have met him at that point, and you knew all his friends. And,
I had met him, but didn't know him that well. I mean,
Yeah.
I hadn't really talked to him or anything. I was happy. I didn't know much about him though.
yeah, okay.
But when Ratzinger
Prince
became
Benedict.
pope, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was confident he'd be chosen because there was no one else.
Yeah.
There was no one else of that stature.
Well, the cardinals especially knew that. So the outside world, the Panzer Cardinal, all that nonsense. But the cardinals who had been dealing with him for years knew all of his great gifts and strengths and his balance and his moderation.
That was the advantage of him being a curial cardinal for so long that all the other cardinals that got to know him, who he really was.
Right. I remember 2005, and the death of John Paul and how dramatic that was, and his funeral, and extraordinary. I had the privilege twice. I was a scholar in residence at the North American College in Rome. I was working on a book both times. But I would, in 2007 especially, Benedict was doing talks on the Church Fathers.
Yes.
And I always made a point, whatever I was doing, I would get down to St. Peter's Square to hear him. And what invariably struck me was, this is a church father talking about the church fathers. Yes. His bearing and his command of language and his style and his theological depth and the ranginess of his mind and the sort of calmness of his soul. I mean, all that was on display. And it was very moving to me.
He was born on April 16th, 1927, which was Holy Saturday, okay?
Yeah.
And in those days, you could have the Vigil Mass in the morning. So he's born at 4:30 in the morning, and at 8:30 his mom takes him to the Vigil Mass, and he's baptized at the Vigil Mass. So his natural life and his supernatural life began in the heart of the church's liturgy.
Pretty good.
And that's always meant a lot to him, So I had a premonition that he was going to die on some symbolic day, which he did. December
he died the 31st, right?
Vigil,
the vigil
of the Mary, Mother of God.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, it's Basil and Gregory, okay? Gregory of Nazianzen. Basil's brother is also Gregory of Nyssa. And those three men, saints, fathers of the church, doctors of the church, in the 4th century, which is the Arian century of the disasters, in the church. And I thought to myself, I'm willing to bet that before too long, a century or so, we'll have 3 more doctors of the church. There will be de Lubac, born in 1896, Balthasar, 1905, Ratzinger, 1927. The 3 of them were close friends.
Yeah.
They corresponded. They mentored each other in a certain sense. I think those are 3 great men that are going to stand out for the rest of church history, just like Basil, Gregory, and Gregory.